Let's go Baltimore Ravens back in the win column against the Chicago Bears. 30-16. Ravens move to 2-5. Bears fall to 4-3. Baltimore, we analyzed this game the whole time, expecting Lamar Jackson to play. Mm-hmm. Let's at least start with that story. He was a full participant, listed as a full participant. Did I get this right? Full participant Wednesday or limited. Either way, one of the practice days he was listed as full.
Yeah.
When it was wrong. He was
Correct.
not. He did not take all the rule is all the first team reps or majority of the first team reps to equal full, and they did not. That was not.
It's like commensurate based off what he is. So if he's a starter and he runs with the scout team, he can't be a full. Like that's not
right.
So basically, Baltimore incorrectly listed his status in practice on the injury report, which is a big no-no in this world of gambling everywhere, and the injury report exists so that people can gamble correctly, right? And in a world where the NBA is already hip deep in a gambling scandal and the NFL is in bed with every gambling company going, the last thing they want to happen is an injury report scandal in a game.
It's a great question, and that's why you have inactives for the team.
Right.
There's sometimes we're like, hey, you only have 7 active offensive linemen. Remember that one game, Tuaolo for the Titans, the tight end for the Falcons. All the Falcons' old linemen got hurt about 6-7 years ago, and he had to play tackle.
Right.
And everyone's like, why can't you just have everybody active? So all the offensive linemen, because gambling, fantasy, you need people to be declared inactive so that like Michael Penix isn't going to play, Drake London isn't going to play. For sure they're not going to play.
Yeah.
And that there's no indecision. Do you think if you had to put percentages on it, how much of the NFL actually cares about the competitive nature of that versus the gambling and fantasy nature of it?
Oh, it's almost entirely the latter.
Because obviously it's a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
To say Tyler Huntley versus Lamar Jackson, like to know who the starter is going to be. There's a competitive advantage there. How much does the NFL care about the actual wins and losses for their team?
No, I think it's
versus gambling, which is freshly legal. By the way,
it's almost entirely, I think, the latter.
Okay, just saying. I mean, so there might be some.
I mean, the bottom line is there. I think that Baltimore is going to be in trouble for that.
Yeah,
I think the league will have some form of discipline for the way that the Ravens handled the whole Lamar thing. Anyway, the idea was everyone thought Lamar was playing, and that ended up not being the case. He's supposedly going to be playing Thursday night, but this was a Snoop Huntley game.
He played well, man. 17 of 22 for 186. Also had a big scramble in there for 29 yards. And so Huntley, a couple of years ago, played pretty well for Baltimore for the most part and had one of those games, certainly more efficient than Cooper Rush. Fascinating game from a game flow perspective. I wanted to break that down in a second here. But what were your overall thoughts on this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, so I had the Bears. This is another one where, I had the Bears to cover this. I thought, because remember, Baltimore 1-5 or whatever, but Vegas has not given up on them, and based off yesterday's results, appears to be correct in that assessment. However, as soon as it was a case of Lamar Jackson's not even playing in this game, controversy, it's a Snoop Huntley game. I was feeling a lot better about picking Chicago to cover that line. And for a while, it looked like that was going to be the case. It was a close game. Baltimore was playing, pretty well. The defense certainly had showed up in a way that they hadn't at any point this season now that they've got some bodies back and were healthier. And you're like, this is setting up for Caleb Williams to just make a couple plays, and eventually the Bears steal this game, and potentially win or at least cover the line. And then Caleb Williams throws a terrible interception, and from that moment on, Baltimore ran away with it.
Yeah, so it's a one-score game late. And by the way, I thought Huntley's addition, just having him instead of Cooper Rush, his running ability, having him to just as a threat on keepers opens things up. Keaton Mitchell had a couple big runs in there. Derrick Henry had the 2 touchdowns, so they finally did connect or convert in the tight red zone, which they had not done 2 weeks ago against the Ravens. But it was a one-score game. Bears are backed up. And Caleb Williams is just late and behind.
Yeah.
Just late and behind.
It was also, it was a great play from Nate Wiggins, who remains like I think he's been the best Ravens defender this year and has been a really good cornerback for them this season. So it was a great play by him to kind of, undercut the receiver, get there and make the play. but a better thrown pass doesn't let him make that opportunity.
Right. And so again, I'm still trying to figure out Caleb Williams and the Bears offense. He started out like 6 of 7, and there is a noticeable difference in rhythm with Caleb Williams and the Bears early in the game versus late. It's not always clean as, well, the first 15 and the script.
Right.
And because the first 15, sometimes you have those splits. Like there was, I think it was when Tannehill was with the Titans, for whatever reason, they had massive splits between the first 15 and then the rest of the game or whatever it was. And some of it's noisy. But for whatever reason, early in the game, Caleb Williams comes in, rhythm, firing, and I don't know if it's because there's more familiarity with those plays. Because what happens with the first 15, it's not like, well, let's have our best plays. Let's have our plays that we're going to practice the most. Or a lot of it's to set up the rest of the game, right? People talk about Andy Reid all the time. We'll show every single motion so that you figure out how the defense is going to handle every single one of your motions and formations, and then you build essentially the rest of the game plan off of that. You pick the plays based off of how the defense reacted to the first 15, 20 plays, whatever you put out there. But in Caleb's case, there is a noticeable different rhythm early versus late. Doesn't mean he doesn't make any good throws. What a ridiculous throw that was to DJ Moore under pressure late. That almost set up when they were trying to make a comeback. It doesn't mean there's nothing good, but there's a lack of rhythm, isn't there, from the beginning of the game to the end? And they only put up 2 field goals. Like they were up 6-0, but they were moving the ball, and there was something to that offense early on.
And it still feels like it's either or. Like he only has 2 modes. He has, within rhythm, operating the offense, quick distributor mode, and then he has that play to DJ Moore mode, right, where it's like chaos. I'm just going to run around, wait till something opens up, and then fire an improbable, ridiculous pass. The velocity that he's able to generate on the run is unlike, I think, anybody else in the NFL.
I would say the speed, too, right? Like his scramble speed, I don't know. I know NGS has pulled that out before. Like the speed at which he scrambles is
he's
fast.
Both bigger, stronger, and faster than you think he is when he's just moving with the ball.
It throws laser beams
That's
on the
the
run.
thing. But what he's able to do with the ball from ridiculous angles on the run without his feet under him, I think is unlike any other quarterback in the NFL. Like, it's like very early Mahomes. Like now Mahomes is less about the actual velocity of the passes he's delivering is less insane now. He knows where to put it, right? And it almost always gets there. But you're no longer really wowed at sort of like the actual whip and RPM and velocity that he's putting on the ball the way you were the first couple of years. That's what Caleb's like now. Like there was one where he was running to his right, feet were nowhere near under him, and somehow he fired an absolute laser beam to the dude in the sideline. Like, how do you do that? No, I'm not going to say nobody else can do it because, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert would have a shot at that, but it is very, very rare. But the point is, he only seems to have those 2 modes. It's like, distributing conventional quarterback, and then at some point in the game, a switch is flipped, and he goes to agent of chaos, scrambler, and nothing in the middle.
Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action. The other thing I'll say, might as well get it out of the way right now from a Bears perspective, I thought they really botched the end of both halves. Now, the second part I'm going to talk about, they were down 2 scores, didn't really matter, but if we want to call this a microcosm of game management or what have you, end of the first half, Caleb Williams has a really nice long scramble, puts them into field goal range. Then they just complete a short pass. Williams picks up an intentional grounding, which essentially takes them out of field goal range. They get back into it with a 3rd and 15. They've got to do what J.J. Watt was calling the hurricane field goal. How many different terms have you called?
I heard 3 just yesterday.
Yeah. I've heard it called the
Mayday and something else.
I've heard it called fire drill field goal.
Somebody else called it a Mayday.
Mayday, I think, is most common. Right? So you've got the 3rd and 15. You have no timeouts. You complete the pass over the middle of the field. You got to sprint the field goal team out there, and they miss the field goal.
Short. 58, very short from 58. I mean, in a world where I was bummed that they didn't let that Dallas tried to complete a pass instead of just letting where you hit it from 70 yesterday. In a world where you're like a 70-yard field goal is clearly possible because we saw it in the preseason. Cairo Santos was short from 58.
But as Scott Hansen pointed out on Red Zone, I happened to be on Red Zone at that point, you don't have the time to get the kicking ball in there.
I don't think that's a big part of that, but I may be wrong.
You've been the reason why kicks are 7 yards longer this year is because of the kicking balls.
Yes, but it's because they've allowed the kicking balls to be worked in the same way as the rest of the balls are worked in. Not because, like, kicking balls previously were basically fresh out of the box.
Yeah,
and it's
for
like,
kicking.
Yeah.
They're set up perfectly designed for kicking.
But part of the point is you wear it in, like a baseball glove. It's like previously it was like fresh out of the box an hour ago, and you're like, here's this brick to kick. Good luck with that. The difference is they've now allowed you to wear this thing in so there's some more elasticity to it. I mean, quarterbacks have been scuffing up the balls and wearing them in for years. I feel like now the difference between a K ball and a regular ball is less than it's ever been before.
So you don't think that's a big deal?
I don't.
So anyway.
I think Santos missing from 58 short is very little to do with the fact that he was kicking a regulation ball.
So because they were doing the Hurricane Mayday fire drill field goal, they were using the gamer.
Right.
They had to set it up quickly. He misses it short. So they kind of messed up the end of half. The way they ended the second half, and then we'll talk about the Ravens a bit, you're already down 2 touchdowns. You have a minute left. You have no timeouts left. And again, they just screwed it up. Like, if you were going to have a comeback attempt, which was going to be difficult.
Improbable.
Right. Improbable.
Once DJ Moore didn't get in, it was probably not. There was probably very little chance of it happening.
So let's start with that. Caleb Williams under pressure. Ridiculous throw getting popped by Kyle Hamilton. And did Hamilton pick up a penalty on that? He smoked him. And DJ Moore makes a one-handed catch along the sideline. Mm-hmm. They get set up at like the 2-yard line. And next pass, Caleb Williams throws the ball short of the end zone. They have no timeouts left. So that's a bad move.
Right.
They run up to the line of scrimmage, run a quick QB sneak, which is probably the right call. Let's just sneak it in, get this over with. He's short, so he doesn't run that well. And then it's like, well, you can't spike it at any point here.
Right.
Because it's 4th down, and it's 4th down. Was it DJ Moore wide open in the back of the end zone?
Yeah, I think so.
And nobody's even near him, and Caleb Williams misses the throw. And it was mass confusion at the very end. And then the announcers were, I mean, JJ, to his credit, was pretty funny. Like, as soon as that pass was thrown short of the end zone, he goes, oh, no. Because he saw what was happening, right? You're short of the end zone. You're going to lose about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Any chance of a comeback isn't there. I'm not saying they would have made the comeback.
No, I mean, they still need an onside kick. It was extremely improbable anyway, but it probably needed DJ Moore to get in on that crazy pass.
But to me, it just sums up last year's Thanksgiving game where
remember that
Caleb
game,
Williams
got Eberflus fired, right?
Right.
But part of that was, remember, Caleb Williams came out after that and basically said that he nixed the play.
It was on me.
Because he thought something different. You're like, hang on, the quarterback goofed the situation in his own head. Like, okay, it was absolutely a complete catastrophe from a coaching standpoint and arguably a fireable offense in and of itself. However, Caleb Williams also said that I forget the exact, didn't he change the play or something because he thought himself they had an extra timeout or something? Like, Caleb Williams screwed that up in just as large a way as Eberflus did. And in a way that, quarterbacks need to be on top of every single detail all the way through the game. That was a real failing from him, and it got completely brushed under the table because, Eberflus, time to get him out. And this is another example where I don't know who's to blame for this, but Caleb Williams is in the middle of it again.
I just wanted to bring that up, right? There was some poor game management in there at the end of both halves. An intentional grounding at the end of the first half hurt them, and then the end of the game. Caleb Williams being in the middle of that. And then when they're down 7, he throws that bad interception to let them back into it.
Yeah.
So those things are standing out. And there's with Caleb Williams and the Bears, I thought Roma Dunze looked great. They go through these spurts where last week I thought the run game was good, the physicality was good. You didn't have that this week against the Ravens. And now you go through these rhythm of the offense is good early. It disappears in the middle. You've got some special plays, but maybe not enough, and they're still looking for it. They're still not there. This Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams marriage, if it's ever going to get there.
Other guys to mention in the game, we already talked about the impact that some of the Baltimore defenders coming back made. I mean, Kyle Hamilton looked really good. You had a spectacular play from Mike Green where he whooped the left tackle, got a sack on a 3rd down. I think basically forced a field goal in that play. Didn't do it all the way through the game, which is, you would like to see.
You at least saw that flash, though.
That play was spectacular. You would like, given a guy capable of making that play, you would like to see more of an impact over the course of the game, but that play being there is important given how little pass rush they've had at various points of the season. They had Marlon Humphrey made a play, Travis Jones made a play, like the guys that we were expecting to be a significant part of a good defense and hadn't been for a lot of this season, even when they were healthy. We're back making some plays.
Roquan Smith as well. He came back from injury, made a bunch of tackles in the pass game, closing in on passing lanes. He did a nice job there. The other play that we just need to mention that was huge in this game when it was 23-16 and Tyler Huntley completed a pass down the sideline to DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins got away with offensive pass interference, it looked like. Pretty bad. What?
I mean, just shock and awe. I can't believe that would happen in the NFL.
For Bears fans, for producer Will, have to at least highlight, may have been some offensive pass interference. That play.
Oh, we've got games where we're going to get to some incompetent
I know, but that play in particular, it was at the 2 plays later, very next play. Well, no, that wasn't right after because they'd already. It was 23-16. That set up their final touchdown. Derrick Henry bouncing out to make it a 2-score game. That was huge. I mean, if the Bears were going to have another comeback attempt, turning it into like a 3rd and long would have been pretty significant there. Mm-hmm. By the way, Kyle Hamilton, we talked about his usage in and around the line of scrimmage these last couple games. I think we're going to see more from Kyle Hamilton in high leverage type of plays, playing against the run, blitzing, what he was doing early last year. Ironically, once they got him back to more free safety, they played better last year. Now they're going to move him more from free safety to around the line of scrimmage and see if that can spark the defense.
That was a huge game for Baltimore in terms of this season, by the way.
It was.
Like, whatever about the confidence Vegas has had in their ability to still go on a run and take this division back, if they had lost, like with that kind of assumed, I think everyone assumed Lamar was playing this game up until it became clear he wasn't. So getting through another game with Snoop Huntley and getting a win out of it, like if they dropped a 1-6 because they didn't have Lamar Jackson back in time for this game, even if the run had then started with Thursday night and beating Miami, I mean, that's a really deep hole. Now, less deep because Pittsburgh loses, Cincinnati loses, but still, getting this win and getting at least a 2-5, and now, I mean, Brett Coleman was tweeting yesterday, like, look at the upcoming schedule for Baltimore, and you're like, yeah, they're only 2 games back. That's why at no point did Vegas abandon them as less than a coin flip, basically, to win this division. That might have been different if they lost as well and they were still with 1 win. Like, it's a really important game for them to just find a way of getting the win.
And as bad as their defense looked beginning of the year, gave up 17 to the Rams before the bye, 16 in this game to the Bears. They're getting better defensively. Big win for the Ravens.
Yep. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
And the all-knowing algorithm is convinced you'll also like these videos, and who are we to argue?